Welcome to Gardening with the Gardeners, a podcast where we discuss our favorite plants, gardens, landscape design, and all things horticulture, with a touch of our crazy homestead lifestyle thrown in.
I'm one of your hosts, Matthew Boone Gardner, a horticulturalist, landscape designer, and fourth-generation owner-operator of Boone Gardner Landscape.
And I'm Hope Gardner, Matt's wife, a horticulturalist with our local county extension office, as well as a landscape designer with the family business. And together we make up
Gardening with the Gardeners.
Welcome back. This is episode number 2 of Gardening with the Gardeners, and today we're going to talk about fall planting and fall interest.
We thought it'd be nice to just, now that we're in October and we're surprised how fast fall has just kind of hit us in the face, which is my favorite time of year I love, but I just still can't believe we're already here. But we thought it'd be a great time to talk about, why fall is such a great time to plant, a few tips for fall planting and just planting in general, and also maybe some of our favorite fall color plants.
Exactly. It was amazing. Our son came home from university yesterday, and even though he's only about an hour and a half away, he was amazed at how much further along we are than he is in the Lexington area. So
With fall color?
With fall color,
which is kind of backwards. Whenever I went there, it seemed like, and you lived in Versailles, it always seemed like Lexington would get fall color before us.
Exactly. But believe it or not, I think we've got more fall color than they have.
Interesting.
Yeah. So let me ask you real quick, what's going on around the farm?
Ask me? Well, I usually ask you that, but so...
I thought I'd switch it up a little bit for you.
Well, all our chickens that you ordered in when, June?
Yeah, mid-June.
You got all those, and they're now...
And we are at that magic time.
Are they still are they still called pullets? Or is that already now becoming hens, I guess? I guess once they start laying, they become a hen.
Well, this week is, we kind of hit that 18-week point.
Because you can't tell the difference. They were like awkward teenagers, and they look like pretty much full hens now.
They are. And this is the week where we should start seeing a few of these varieties start laying eggs. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, we have had flocks for years now, and our flock had kind of gotten down to like 10 chickens maybe.
Well, we were getting down to 12, and I think
it was old age, and they
yes.
die off, unfortunately, and stop laying, that kind of thing. And so Hope ordered a bunch in this spring.
I did.
And got them going.
We have 40, and I can't really say baby chicks anymore because, like we said, but they're getting ready to start laying. So that is very, very exciting.
So the time frame usually is like 100. What'd you say? 126.
126 to 154. It really kind of depends on the variety.
Which is 18 to
18 weeks.
18 weeks to okay.
Yeah.
So, and what else? I guess so all of a sudden you're kind of going in freak out mode because it's like all the chores we got to do before fall, like winter. And of course our greenhouse isn't built yet.
So being a big dahlia grower, it is getting very close to time where I'm going to start digging. So I dig all of my tubers up. I started labeling them already, so I know exactly what variety each plant is when it comes out of the ground.
And this is a massive process, people.
Yes, it is.
She took up half our garage last year with tubers, and I think you've got dahlia madness. We will be doing a whole episode.
Yes, we are going to do an episode very, very soon on not only dahlias and winter care, but some other of those semi-tropical kind of perennials or tubers and cannas and elephant ears and all of these things that we dig, gladiolas.
I have to admit, I think at first I thought you lost your mind, but now you're turning me around to the other side. And they are quite spectacular. And I've thoroughly enjoyed your bouquets that you're bringing into the house. And then, this weekend we were able to go to our friends' houses and bring bouquets I
love sharing my dahlias. So if I can make a nice bouquet of flowers and send them to friends, I think that's fantastic.
It's lots of fun.
But, one of the hard things about dahlias is you plant them and they grow and you wait. And they grow and you wait. And you grow and it's like, when are you going to bloom? Because they take a long time.
I told you people she's going to start talking about dahlias. We just save this for the next episode.
We will, of course.
So at Boone Gardner, and like other landscape companies, we plant year round. We have to out of necessity. And also it's with good practice and following the weather and not making sure there's various reasons and ways to do it. You can do that. However, fall is absolutely the best time to plant trees and shrubs in Kentucky.
Yes, trees and shrubs. Now, With your herbaceous perennials, those actually need to be waited till spring.
Yeah, you don't want to get
But
too far.
trees and shrubs are a great time to, they love to be planted this time of year.
Well, I was going to say, but late October until the first of the year is really the best time to plant for
As long
several
as your
reasons.
ground's not frozen.
We've usually had some rain, which we actually got a little bit of that. Cooler temperatures come moving in, and so those factors kind of really help kind of set the stage for good planting.
So one of the reasons why I guess balled and burlap trees are, because you can get a much larger tree. And the nurseries have to wait until those plants start going dormant. Because you think about when they are going to dig, they're obviously cutting roots
Yes.
to dig those trees to be balled and burlapped. If they grow them in containers or what's called pot in pot, and that's just exactly what it is, they grow a tree in a pot, and it fits down into a pot in the
socket
ground.
pot that holds it.
Yeah, so that's the pot and pot method. When they do that, they literally just lift that pot up that the tree's growing in up out of the ground, and then you can buy it.
And you get the same benefit of a shrub that's growing in a pot where that shrub doesn't know. Everybody's like, oh, I have to plant this a certain time of year. It's like, no, the shrub doesn't. The shrub's already been, it's in the pot. So it can literally move around, and all you're doing is putting it in its new home. Whereas if you're having to dig that nursery plant like you're talking about, it puts it through stress and transplant shock and things like that.
Well, of course, because you're giving it, it's kind of the opposite of a haircut, but you're giving it, the root haircut. So you have to be careful that you don't want to trim too many of those root hairs off and then put that tree into a stressful situation. So when they start going dormant, they're not growing as much. And when it doesn't have leaves, it's not relying on that photosynthesis. A lot less transplant shock and more reliability in getting those trees established in that cooler temperature.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it's like just like you said, we think of these like woody plants in particular and deciduous plants as they growing in the spring and early summer and then going dormant in the fall and winter. And that's true for a lot of the conifers too. Even though they're evergreen, they're still going through a period of dormancy. But that's true for at least the part above ground we see, because there's actually things still going on underneath the ground.
Yes, and I'm sure that you know this, but did you know that roots grow best when the soil is above freezing, but below like 50 to 60 degrees? And so for us, that's most winter.
Yes, most of the fall and winter. So by planting in the fall, we're taking advantage of the roots being able to regenerate and getting that growth period still going on. There's less energy going to the canopy. That energy is going down to the roots. So that gives the plants time to get established. And that makes for a much more resilient, more drought-tolerant plant that you're moving into the spring and just easy.
So when they come out of dormancy and they start growing in the spring, they're in their new home and they don't know the difference.
And
So
what
they're
I always
happy.
tell my clients, like today I met with a client and she was like, are we getting too late to plant? I was like, no, this is prime time. I was like, it's awesome for the plants. Our guys are happy. And I tell you what, you will be happy as a homeowner because you will not have to water it. Maybe, we may still get a few weeks of warm weather here and there, and she may have to water like a little bit, but she's not going to have to do all that. She can literally once that stops, the need for it, which is real soon. She won't have to water all winter long, all spring probably, and then not water till like June or July.
So let me say that it is, we're going to touch on watering. But once you get that plant in the ground and it's planted and mulched, you do want to water a couple times because you've got to get.
Of course. If
yes.
I didn't mean that. Yeah.
But even with our established plants, to get a really good fall color, they do need to have some water during this fall period, or in that late summer into fall period, because that moisture helps to really give them that bright, vibrant fall color. So that also kind of leads me into the next thing I wanted to talk about.
Well, real quick, did you know that everybody thinks of the cooler temperatures are what makes fall
Yes.
color happen? And they are, but it's actually two factors. So it's not just the cold temperatures, but it's also the length of daylight. So the day length period or photo period, that is really the primary trigger for fall color, and that that process of the day shortening, the trees begin to shut down and kind of prepare for winter. And that leads to the breakdown of the chlorophyll in the leaves and then the emergence of other pigments that create those amazing fall colors that we love, the oranges and the reds and all the vibrant yellows.
That's right. Yes, it's the length of the day. There's not as many hours in the day to grow, so it's time. That kind of triggers them to. It's time for fall. Time to go to bed.
So if we're going to plant, what is one of the first little rules?
The right plant in the right place.
Yes.
And so a lot of times, homeowners are going to look at these trees and like, oh, I love this tree or this shrub. But really matching the growing conditions in the environment for what that plant needs, you're going to be a much happier result.
Whether it's size,
Size is the
environmental
big one, I
factors.
think, right now, because lot sizes are getting smaller. So not everybody has room for like a giant oak. And I love oak trees, where they might look at some of the smaller varieties of trees that are going to work better in that area. So if you look at the amount of light, sunlight that area gets, the easiest like access to water that you can give that plant or that tree. There's a lot of factors that you really want to look at to make sure that you put the right plant in the right place. Another one that people a lot of times don't think about is what is the pH in the soil? What's your soil conditions? Working at the extension office, a lot of people don't know that every county has an extension office, and our office actually will do a soil test for you free. Here in Oldham County, you can get up to 4 soil tests.
Every time I tell somebody that, they're like, what? I was like, yeah, it's free. It's an amazing service. It's awesome.
Well, and I have to say, to give everybody their due credit, we're so fortunate that we work with our conservation district. So conservation district pays for half of the cost, and the extension office pays for half of the cost. So your county actually pays for the soil samples. You don't have to. It used to be like $10 a sample, and right now they're free.
It's a great service.
So you can get up to 4 samples. Be sure and get your soil test done. This fall is a great time. If not, do it in the first of the spring before you really start planting. And that way, if you have a plant that likes a more acidic soil condition, maybe you need to add some sulfur to the soil and get that pH number down low enough so that your plant is happy from the very beginning.
So you've got your pH, you got your right plant in the right place. What else do you think you should worry about?
So there's this thing called a percolation test. And they usually do those for like septic system. That's when people really think about them. But it's kind of important also to know when you're doing that soil test and that, putting the plant in the right place, is do you have good soil drainage or not? So a lot of times we've got this clay soil in Kentucky. And so we want to like dig a hole. And it doesn't have to be a huge one, but you want to dig a good hole, fill it up with water, and then let it drain out, fill it up again. So on that second time that you fill it up, then you really want to calculate kind of how many minutes does it take for it to drop like an inch of water. And so when you start looking at that, if it's a half an inch in 15 minutes, is that hourly rate, then you're going to guess that it's going to drop about 2 inches for an hour. That makes anything less than a half an inch is going to be poor draining soil. So that's kind of how you know if you've got really poor draining soil.
And obviously, if you've got standing water in the hole, you got a real problem.
If it hasn't drained at all, you got big troubles.
Now, the critical thing to remember is that could be really discouraging, but it may just be that one location. It doesn't mean your whole entire yard is like a horrible clay bowl of soil.
No,
because everything's different.
Exactly. So can I take a quick side note and tell a story?
Please do.
Because I like to.
Yes.
So down at my parents' house, they built a house on the family farm, and Dad wanted a fish pond. We dug a fish pond, and it kept collapsing.
The opposite of this is the one time you want it to hold water.
You think of all the clay in Kentucky. Well, we thought back about it. They had fed cattle in that one location for like 40 years.
So it had amazing organic matter.
All of that organic matter was absolutely amazing. The prettiest soil in Woodford County. However, not the prettiest soil in Woodford County to dig a pond.
No.
So we had amazing soil. I never thought that would happen. And we have a huge fish pond now because it kept collapsing. So it is important to know kind of what your soil quality is before you start digging, whether it's a fish pond or for a tree.
If one doesn't follow those tips, then a lot of those negative factors can pile up and cause the plant to be not adapted to a site. And that makes it less winter hardy, more, prone to disease and insect problems. It's funny because, Dr. Fountain, one of my old professors, is still around at the University of Kentucky. He's in charge of, we say Woody's, but the Woody Ornamental Program. And he cites the fact that the plant diagnostic program, their lab, they get the test in, you submit samples for plants that have disease problems or insect problems. But, and everybody thinks, I'm going to submit this sample to the lab, and it actually ends up very often not. It's not a disease or insect problem, or at least 80 to 90% of those samples that come into that lab can be traced back to improper cultural conditions. So like adaptability to the site, the wrong plant in the wrong place, bad drainage, improper drainage, like you talked about the percolation, improper installation. And those are usually the number one factor. But 89% of the plants, that's pretty amazing, because everybody wants to. I know we always like, oh, what's wrong with this plant? And a lot of times it's not. It's like something.
Most of my site visits at the extension office, I go to residential properties to look at a sick plant.
Tree, yeah, or shrub.
And most people are like, why is it dying? And you look at it and you're like, well, I don't see any disease. I don't see any insects. And then you start looking around, and a lot of times it is that site issue
or physical damage, what they call mechanical damage.
Yes.
When people like you weed eat too closely or mow too close to your tree and you hit the bark, or a deer has rutted on it and rubbed his antlers on it, and that causes problems in the bark, the cambium layer and things like that.
Yes. But we really are lucky to have such a phenomenal plant pathology lab that will look at this. And we do, when you bring it into the extension office, or when I go out to a site visit, we actually do have to take pictures of the site because so many times it is a site issue.
One other thing to remember when planting is you want to make sure you call Kentucky 811 if you're in Kentucky, or 811 in other states, I assume. But everybody has a before you dig problem, or BUD is what we always called it. You can do it online, or it's a phone number. Online is the easiest way now. There's a homeowner section. There's a commercial contractor section, which is what we use for all our jobs. But we basically, let's say I sell you a new job. We go on that site. We register your site. We say we put in the address. We put where the work is going to be done.
Front yard or
backyard. Front yard,
backyard,
side yard, whatever. What we're doing, how far we're digging. And they'll come out and they'll mark utilities. And it's a free service, but you want to do it for sure. Number one, it makes it easier for you, but also it's a great insurance policy, because if you have it marked and if you're digging and you're not in that variance that they spray, and you hit something where they didn't mark it correctly, it's on them and not you. But if you just hit a line like a fiber optic or something without that, you're in trouble, and you're going to end up having to pay for it yourself.
Now, as a homeowner, if you have irrigation,
they will not mark
it's your
that.
responsibility to know what those irrigation lines are.
They don't do irrigation. They
dog
don't do
fence?
Dog fence, exactly. So what they call those private contractor utilities, as opposed to public stuff like water, sewer, gas, electric,
right,
those kind of things.
And so it is very important to always call that before you dig, or Kentucky 811, to make sure that your property, and you do want to give them how many business days?
They usually say 2 to 3 business days, and they're pretty right on the money. They're pretty fast though. A lot of times they'll come out. Sometimes we'll be late kind of getting, or we'll jump to another site and all of a sudden have an opening. A lot of times they're out the very next day. But yeah, you want to give them 2 to 3 business days ideally.
So as a homeowner, if you're thinking about digging for a nice fall tree, make sure you call a couple days ahead of time. Give them some time to get out there, and make sure you get everything sprayed or identified before you dig. So now that we kind of have an idea that we're going to dig, how do we properly dig for trees and shrubs? That's a question that most people think, you just go out there with a shovel and dig a hole. But there is a technique that's going to give you the best results. We actually at the Extension Office do have publications that go through detailed on how you will plant a bottom burlap tree, how you plant containers, or even bare root. And so when you start looking at how you dig a hole, correct proper technique for a tree is that you're going to dig a hole that is about 2 inches less than what the ball of that tree, the height is.
Especially in Kentucky, because we want to plant a little bit high, as we say.
We do, because the weight of that tree settles that ground underneath and it sinks.
Plus our heavy soils.
Yes.
We want good drainage.
You want good drainage. We have some heavy soil. So you plant a little bit high. It's going to settle in, just a little bit. So it's not going to be sitting up way above. You're not going to have like 3 inches of the root ball above the ground. But you want to have it just at or slightly above soil level. And this goes with containers too. You never plant a container deeper than what the level of the soil is that you purchase that shrub.
Yeah, by the time you get done, the only thing that should be on top of that is maybe just a little bit of mulch. But
Just
not
yes,
people don't. You've seen it. You go to site visits and you'll see plants that are buried so deep they've got inches of soil on top of that thing, and then it actually suffocates the plant. It can't
yes.
breathe.
Or it'll rot the
Root rot.
cambium layer at the base
Oh,
of the
that
trunk.
too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want water collecting there. So once you get your hole the proper depth, and if you're using a shovel, it's usually really easy to use the upside down, like the handle, to get the inch or how deep you're going to dig that hole. Then put that into the ground and see how deep your
Yeah,
hole is.
that's what we always do. Just put your hand on it and kind of do a little marker with it, and then hold it right there. And yep.
Yep. So that's a good way. You don't have to get exact, but you can get really close to the depth of the hole that you need. Best practice is that you should do it about 3 times the size.
2 to 3, but they say 3 if you can.
If you can, because as those roots, and we've talked about the primary roots on your trees are really in that 12 to 15 inch depth. That's where most of your feeder roots are. Some of them will have, like oaks, have a very long taproot, but most of your feeder roots are only in that 12 to 15 inch depth. It creates an environment that is easier for those roots to extend into that soil. You don't backfill or change the backfill. So what you really want to do is when you start backfilling, you want to backfill with that native soil, the soil that came out of that hole. You don't want to amend it, or they're not recommending amending it.
And it's good to not just throw those big, like especially if you're digging when the ground's hard, not just throw those big heavy chunks up, but actually take your shovel and kind of chop up and break up those pieces.
Yes.
To where you get a nice loose mix.
That's going to be about the only way you're going to amend that soil. It's just breaking
it up, and yeah.
You don't want to leave those big clods, leave too many air holes or air
Cause
pockets.
problems, yeah.
And so you want to break all that up so that you have a nice loose fill of native soil back into that hole. By going 2 to 3 times the width, what happens is you create a native natural environment for those feeder roots that want to grow out into it. They get stronger, and then they can penetrate that heavy clay solid soil.
Well, and you said a critical part about the native soil, because they used to be thought, back in the day, and still I've got tons of clients. Sometimes, yes, we're amending beds with some nice topsoil if it's just totally awful, and we're incorporating that. But most of the time, you want to incorporate that native soil so that the plant actually the tree particularly gets used to that soil and actually can grow into it. Whereas that in the past, where if they put so much soft organic matter, like potting soil type esque stuff, they almost create like a bowl effect, right? And
Very
so it becomes
much.
like you're basically, especially in Kentucky clay, you're planting this tree in this like crazy light soil, and then when those roots finally get to the clay, it's like, oh, I'm not going to go any further, and they start spiraling and just growing around themselves.
Exactly. And those spiraling roots can cause girdling. And
roots.
what girdling does is kind of
It
exactly
suffocates.
what that term means. I mean, it like you put a girdle up around, and they can't grow past that, and it suffocates them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
then after that, you'll want to mulch, right?
mulch, yes. So what we recommend is usually a natural type of mulch.
Hardwood, pine straw.
Exactly. Pine fines, pine straw,
all good stuff.
hardwood, cypress. We don't recommend the shredded tires, which I think we're getting away from that now.
That stuff I'm not a fan of that.
No, and especially
It was a neat idea. I love the Green ME loved the idea of recycling, but it's just
not for plant material.
Well, and it just not even it releases a lot of heavy metals and toxins in the ground and all kinds of other stuff.
Yes. So you really want to mulch about 2 to 4 inches deep. Now, when you're mulching a new planted tree, be sure not to bring that mulch all the way up to the trunk. You want to leave a little bit of mulch around the base, but not up against the root or the bark.
Certainly not heaped up like the mulch volcano.
Not a mulch volcano. Please don't do mulch volcanoes, listeners.
So amazing. Another thing, so we talked about how more native soil now, not doing too many soil amendments, which is actually easier. Another thing that's actually easier is they recommend a best practice now is you don't have to automatically stake every tree. So like the old thought was you plant a tree, you stake it. But it's actually better. A lot of the research has come to find out, unless it's a bare root tree, and obviously that has no root ball. But if it's a new tree and it's healthy and the site's not too windy, you can plant that tree and not stake it, and it does great, and it actually grows faster. And that locomotion or that little bit of movement of the tree, I'm not talking blowing it over, but normal wind actually gets those roots to come out and actually grab that soil and kind of
Hold tight.
grip tighter. Exactly. It adapts to the site quicker. Whereas they've done studies and some of these trees that were so regimentedly staked, like little shoulders, or they couldn't even move, their roots were weaker. And so when you finally took the staking off, the thing ended up blowing over anyways. So now that being said, there's plenty of times we do have to come back, or you may have to stake a tree, and obviously it's nothing wrong with that, and it can be a very good thing to help them get established. But you don't want to leave that on for that long. And this certainly, the problem is you come back 2-3 years later, if not longer, and you see stakes that have grown in, especially with the old ways of the wire growing through the tree and causing problems in the bark. You don't want that at all.
I would say probably 1 year
Yeah,
from planting, and
I
then
think
you would
so.
take that off.
I agree. Proper watering the first year, we talked about that, but that the first year or two is much more important than fertilizing. We won't go into this much now since we have a massive episode coming up where we're going to talk nothing about watering. Maybe, I don't know if it'll be the most exciting, but we're going to do it.
It is. Now, one other quick thing. They actually are not recommending additional fertilization
No.
for your trees.
Thank you. If I did, yeah.
Really, everybody thought about those little, fertilizer stakes. Well, they only are going to absorb into about, maybe 4
I'm
inches
not
in
a huge
diameter.
fan of those. We always, our guys would joke about, even back in the day, they would go back and dig those up, or they would do some work around a tree, and they'd still be there years later. Like
They don't dissolve.
They don't dissolve.
No. And really, Kentucky soil should have enough phosphorus and potassium that you don't need to additionally fertilize your tree. Sometimes there is a situation where, you do, but as a majority of the time, most trees don't need additional fertilization. And if you fertilize your lawn, you're definitely fertilizing your tree as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now the fun part.
The fun part, plants.
Yay.
So we'll talk about, fall is just, Hope knows how much I love fall. She's a spring girl.
I'm definitely spring.
And I love my fall. But I think we'll focus on trees and shrubs.
Yes.
Obviously, the ornamental grasses, this is their time to sing too. And it's just I love them. I love the movement, the light catching the seed heads. We'll probably do another show sometime about ornamental grasses. There's lots of perennials that look great in the fall even. And even some of your perennials get great fall
Amazing
color.
fall colors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the Amsonia and
I love
hardy
that-
geraniums. And I mean, they get some really cool color to them. We want to talk about shrubs, or you want
Let's
to do
go
trees?
for it.
Which one do you want to do
Let's
first?
start with the little guys. Let's start with some shrubs.
Okay. So fun shrubs. I mean, you can't add, we don't think of the fall garden as complete. I mean, I certainly just put one of these in a great shade garden design we just did is the calocarpa or beautyberry.
I love that beautyberry. Of course, I love the color purple.
Yes, you
And
do.
they have the most amazing purple berries on them.
And they're both, there's two, the Americana or American beautyberry and then the calocarpa japonica, the Japanese beautyberry. They're both spectacular, both a little bit different. The American beautyberry is kind of a 3 to 6 foot tall, kind of arching habit. And it has these kind of larger clusters of the bright berries.
And it's a native shrub.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does attract birds because of the berries. They a lot of times will come in and eat those berries when it's, they need food. But it's a great shrub to have if you've got a space for that 3 to 6 foot tall.
Because those purple, the calocarpa just sits there for a while, and it's not a bad shrub, but it just kind of quietly sits in your garden. And then all of a sudden, those little flowers come on, and those berries start forming. And when those purple berries come out, it is the star of the fall landscape.
Yeah, you don't plant it for the flowers. They're not.
They're kind of little bitty guys.
They're not
yeah.
showy, but those berries sure are.
And the Japanese beautyberry, like I said, is just as lovely, just a little bit different. It's hard. There's plenty of people that kind of say one's better than the other. I like them both. The berries are smaller in the Japanese beautyberry, but it is equally as lovely.
Okay, another one, that 9-bark.
Oh yeah, Diablo
Diablo,
9-bark.
yes. Diablo 9-bark is another fantastic shrub. It's a lot taller, especially if you need some screening. It can get 6 to 10 feet tall. It does kind of have an arching habit. It's a deep, deep burgundy foliage, which is really pretty. The spring does have white flowers, but I'll tell you what, that deep burgundy foliage is fantastic. And then the peeling bark does add a lot of winter
Well, and the cool
interest.
thing is all those features you just listed are not even the fall features, because the fall features is that burgundy foliage actually turns kind of a reddish orange and intensifies. And so it's going through, it has those year round, or not year round, but during the growing season, it's like a Japanese maple type colored leaf. And then it actually, just like a Japanese maple, it changes and goes through some neat color changes. Another great shrub is the Fothergillas, and any of the Fothergillas are great.
They're fantastic.
Fothergilla gardenia, dwarf Fothergilla. You know, it's a compact shrub, about 2 to 3 foot tall, 3 to 4 foot wide. Awesome little bottle brush, white fragrant blooms in the spring. And really, my favorite thing about Fothergilla is the fall color. I mean, it is
Fantastic.
awesome. Oranges, kind of reds. Neat family. They're the neat shrub in the witch hazel family, the Hemelidaceae family. It's a mouthful. But all those witch hazels and Fothergillas, they all have great fall color.
So the next shrub we're going to talk about, I'm going to guess is probably one of your favorite landscape shrubs, and that's the Virginia sweet spire.
It's definitely, I use it a lot because it's Old Faithful. It's a great little plant. It's tough. Itea virginica. You got Henry's garnet. You got Little Henry. I'll let you talk about those.
So Little Henry is the 2 to 3 feet tall, so it's a small shrub. And then you've got the Henry's garnet, which is the 3 to 5 feet tall. They're very fragrant, white, spiky flowers in the spring, and then the foliage is a beautiful burgundy red fall color.
I always tell people that it's like little mini burning bush, and burning bush,
Without
unfortunately,
being invasive.
exactly. Unfortunately, burning bushes have gotten invasive. These guys have fall color just as brilliant as that, and they're really good. So, my favorite is Little Henry. It's more compact, it's tidier, and behaves itself better. Unfortunately, Henry's garden has gotten a little bit of a bad name because it does like to travel. And just being full disclosure, it will send up little shoots and kind of spread itself in the garden. Now, if you have a space that you're trying to fill out, especially wet spaces, it does not mind wet feet. We were talking about bad, poorly drained soils
Yes.
earlier. This is one of those plants that can do. It does well in droughty conditions or wet.
It's very
feet,
versatile, but it does like.
and sun or shade. Really, I mean that's why. I mean it does well in a lot of different conditions. Just a tough plant.
Okay, so now we've hit a couple of shrubs. I know that there's a lot more out
Yeah,
there.
we'll keep it
But for
short.
time, let's go to trees because this is where I get more excited. Not that I don't love shrubs, but I love my trees.
So there's so many great trees for fall color. Again, this is just a quick handful of some of our favorites, and not all of them by any means.
So I started writing down some of my favorite trees for the show, and I have probably 12 of the favorites, and then another 10 of the second favorites. So how do you start with 22 trees?
Well,
It's not all are the same as yours.
no. Well, let's start with one tree I think is interesting because nobody ever thinks about for fall color, but Lagostromia or crepe myrtles.
That's right. They have an amazing fall color.
They are awesome.
And they're on my list too. But just because everybody thinks of them, for their bloom in the or late spring, early summer.
Yeah, summer really. I mean, when you think about it, especially
they've
here.
got beautiful bark.
Spectacular bark.
Yeah. And then people don't realize or don't give them credit for the amazing fall color that they have.
They have really good fall colors, oranges, reds, burgundies. I mean, just super, really awesome fall color. So
it's another plant that it's got to be the right plant in the right place.
Oh, yeah.
But once you get it in that right place and it gets established, it is phenomenal.
yeah, crepe myrtles, I mean, due to our kind of warmer temperatures and things like that, they are doing much better here. You used to not be able to grow them as much, or you had to be real careful about it. Obviously, you go to Tennessee and Georgia, and they're all over the place. They're like weeds. But we're one of the benefits of this is being able to have them grow right around here now. And even when they do get hit by the wintertime, often, because this will happen, sometimes we'll put a new crepe myrtle in, and it may get totally knocked to the ground. And the client, obviously, legitimately for good reasons, gets freaked out and says, okay, this thing's dead. What are you going to do? I was like, well, you have patience. Let it actually come back from that root ball, and it'll actually be a lot hardier.
Yes.
And sure enough, it does. And it starts over, and they grow so fast in one season. And then in two, especially 3 years, but 2 years, you'll have a really nice tree quickly on your hands again. And they do great. So,
Okay, what are some of the varieties that you think are best for our area?
I mean, some of the ones we use are like muskogee, Natchez, Scarlet, Tonto, Tuscarora. Those are all great ones that we use.
What's the next one that you have?
Acer Gricium,
You love that tree.
paperbark maple.
Of course. I mean, they've got a phenomenal, obviously, paper bark. So they've got that exfoliating bark that looks really, really cool.
The bark is I mean, that's awesome winter interest. So this is another one of these plants that gives you year-round interest. They're a small tree. They say 20 to 30 foot tall, but they're very slow growing, and it takes a while for them to get there. They can be a little temperamental, and that they definitely like good drainage and be in the right place. But they're another one. I mean, any maples bar none have amazing, some of the best, if not the best, fall color. And Acer Gricium's with it, kind of really pretty oranges, sometimes kind of a cast of red. It's awesome. So what's another one you've got?
Okay, well, I'm going to say this probably wasn't on my list. This is on your list. But I have to say it's one of my very favorite trees. And that's the Heptacodium macronoides,
Yes.
the 7 sunflowers. I know it's on your list. Now, the one that we have here at the farm, it's bloomed and it has a little white bloom. It's a cute little white bloom, but then it goes red. And that's not even the fall color. That's just where the blooms have been. And it's so cool.
Those white blooms, those petals later turn into these red calices in the fall. And those are what really get, like you're saying, it's a beautiful blush kind of red. It's really
They're phenomenal.
nice. I seem to be following this as like a lot of winter interest as well, but they kind of go hand in hand. This is another one with great bark, great fall color, Perodia.
Oh, yeah.
Persian Perodia, Persian Ironwood, Perodia persica. Awesome. I mean, this plant does not get used enough. It is, like the name suggests, ironwood. It is a bulletproof tree. It is tough, hardy, and just it performs so well. It easily gets 20 to 30 foot tall and kind of a rounded form, kind of some more of an upright kind of rounded shape to it. It's really kind of neat. And they have just the most exquisite fall color mix of like reds and oranges and yellows, and that can all be on the same plant. It's really dramatic, isn't it? It's like
It is, but I have to say, for me, I don't really think of the fall color as much as I think of that bark.
the bark it's some of the most amazing bark in the horticultural world. I mean, we love, like we were talking about the paperbark maple, the crepe myrtles, the Persian Perodia. The bark is kind of like a crepe myrtle. It has that kind of real neat mottled, like, and it's just heavy.
Yes,
Yeah.
it really is neat. I do like that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to kind of I don't really say an oldie but goodie, but it's definitely one that people don't think of, I think, as a fall plant necessarily, and that's the Coosa dogwood.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, we think of, especially the newer varieties of Coosas that have that great big bloom after the leaves are on the plant. So it really kind of acts as a backdrop or a frame for that big white
Like Venus.
blooms. Yes. But then, that bloom goes to a big red berry that I think is really phenomenal. But it's got that deep, deep purpley red fall foliage, and they're, disease resistant. They're still a small tree, that 15 to 20 feet tall and 15 wide. So you can stick it in a lot of places. And I just think that Coosas are a great tree.
I love Coosa dogwoods. Use them all the time. That it gets a really good fall color as well. All the dogwoods do. They can get some, even when
They do, even
even
our
in
native
periods,
dogwood.
yeah, Cornus Florida or native dogwood, even in periods of drought when they're just looking awful, a lot of times they'll still perform and give you good fall color. But those Coosas, a lot of times get kind of a scarlet deep red, and it's really quite striking. And again, another great bark. We always have great bark. We like our bark.
Well, that gives you multiple seasons
That's
of
it.
interest.
Yes. A great tie-in. You talked about dogwoods, and another great little small ornamental tree that I use alternatively with dogwoods is a serviceberry.
That's on my list too. It's a fantastic.
And there's so many great serviceberries and different species of them that are great. I mean, one great one is the Emilankia grandiflora or autumn brilliance. And that, just like the name says, autumn brilliance it's got amazing fall color. You get the white blooms in the spring and the edible berries.
So most of the time, Unfortunately, the birds get all the berries,
Yeah, birds
but
love.
they're edible. We
They
could eat the service
they
berries.
used to make because they used to call them
Jam.
sarvis berries. I guess was a funny. They used to spell it like in the or I guess Appalachian areas, but they
Yes.
spelled it a funny way, and they would make like jellies and jams with it, I think. But no, service berry. If I have clients that say they want trees or shrubs that attract wildlife, this is always ones you want to put it in the garden because the birds just love it.
Okay. So then, if it would be my turn, I'm going to say black gum.
Black gum's
Those are
awesome.
awesome
Tupelo.
trees. The Nisa savatica.
Yes.
So they're going to get 30 to 50 feet tall. It's kind of a pyramid shape.
Real nice. Yeah, great landscape tree. I mean, it's usually has a nice form to it.
Great shiny leaves early, and then a real brilliant red fall color.
I love the leaves on black gums. They're just these awesome, glossy. I mean, when the tree is healthy and happy, they're almost laurel-like. I mean, they're so glossy and evergreen. They're not evergreen, but they look like they should be. But then they get that amazing fall color on that really thick leaf. It's awesome. It's very dramatic. There's all kinds of neat new varieties. This tree has really exploded with thanks to Mike Heyman, awesome local nurseryman that
That Hayman's red.
Heyman's Red Rage. Yeah, Red Rage. It's awesome. He discovered it in Indiana, and it's a nice one. Wildfire's another great one for intense color, strong branching. Green Gable, Northern Splendor, Wildfire, Afterburner. These are all great varieties. It's just like I said, it's exploded with new varieties.
Okay, let's do just a couple more because I know we're running out of time. But you can't say fall and tree color without talking about the maples.
I know, I purposely, just to be kind of contrarian, I left them. You know how much I love Japanese maples, but I left Japanese maples and red maples off this list just because they are so amazing. I feel like we could do an entire episode on either one of those. We could, and we will. But yeah, what did you want to mention?
Well, I think, with your red maples, you've got Red Sunset, you've got October Glory. Those are two varieties that have been around
Classics.
forever.
Classics.
And the reason is because for maples, they're a great tree. They have amazing fall color. They can be, 40 to 50 feet tall and 25 to 40 feet wide. They are a really, really fast growing tree. In the right place, they can grow as much as, those red maples can grow as much as like 3 feet a year. So if you're looking at
Really?
throwing a tree out there in that right place, in the right condition, it can really give you some great shade fast.
Other great varieties of red maple include Sun Valley, Burgundy Bell, Armstrong Gold. These are all lovely trees.
What do
We
you
can't
think?
do a fall list without ginkgo biloba.
Of course.
Yes.
That's a great one.
Everybody knows the great ginkgo, or at least I think most people do.
Most people should. There are 270 million years old. So they were around when the dinosaurs
It's
were.
a prehistoric living fossil. It's spectacular.
Bright gold. So it's going to be an amazing contrast to like those red maples because you're going to have that bright, bright yellow.
It's probably, I would think, the best representation of the yellow in the fall garden.
Oh, by
there
far,
is.
I would think so.
It's tricky though because it'll turn and once it really gets to peak, almost falls overnight, don't they?
They do.
That's the only drawback. But when they fall, it's like little golden butterflies just falling to the ground, just absolutely spectacular.
Now, one thing about the ginkgos, and I think this is one of the things that allowed them to survive so long, is that they actually have male and female trees. And you really can't talk about ginkgos as a landscape plant unless you discuss the difference between the male and the female.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely want to try to find a male. If they ever have them sexed, get the male. Not that I'm against the females. However, the females are the one that are going to produce the berries. And you have to be really careful with the berries in the fall because when those berries fall,
They smell like dog poop.
I was going to say rotten cheese.
Oh, I think it smells like dog poop.
So I remember when I was at Western on campus, there was a female ginkgo, and every fall when those berries, it was such a mess and it stunk so bad. It's a beautiful tree, but you really do have to be careful. Those berries are pretty tough.
And if you're buying it from a reputable nursery or landscaper, they're going to have those trees. They're going to be male clones, so you're safe there usually.
Yes, you should be. And those are going to get about 40 feet tall, about 30 feet wide.
Well, it depends on the variety. I mean, some
Well,
could be
that's
way
true.
bigger than that. Way bigger, honestly. 60, 70, massive.
Okay, last tree. What's
Last
your pick?
tree, I think you have to mention the sweet gum, but I have one particular sweet gum is the Slender Silhouette, which is this is liquid ambar styraciflua slender silhouette columnar sweet gum. And the great thing about this sweet gum is it's the one it's being used a lot in commercial landscapes now. Has a really neat, strict, upright form, very columnar, almost reminiscent of an Italian like a Italian cypress, but it's not an evergreen, but it has that kind of look. So it's nice in small or urban landscapes where you don't want something really spread out, or even if you want some kind of a formal type strict planting for a dramatic vertical element in a garden. But like any sweet gum, it has the amazing fall color. They just
Yes, they do.
I mean, and it's one that gets several different colors on different leaves, and it's a showstopper.
So it goes from a really glossy green leaf to this vivid, vivid fall color. And it is a great addition to the list.
So that's just a few of our favorites. We could talk for hours and hours and hours of much more, but we wanted to finish
I
out.
have to say, what comes to mind when you say that is the song from The Sound of Music. There's a few of my favorite things. These are a few of our favorite fall trees.
That's one of your favorite movies. You love that.
Yes.
So there are some tips for fall planting.
Fall color. Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate all the listeners and sticking with us. Hopefully, you'll have some new information about fall plantings, and maybe you can add a beautiful fall colored tree in your yard.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Gardening with the Gardener. Thank you for listening to Gardening with the Gardeners. Please subscribe or follow us to get new episode updates. And please drop a rating or review. If you have a question, either gardening, landscape, or horticulturally related, you can email us at gwtg@boonegardener.com. Thank you for listening to Gardening with the Gardeners.